Speed has just become a pro footballer. However, he's the worst player of all time. But because his idol is Ronaldo, today I'm giving Speed Ronaldo's entire career to win Champions Leagues, Ballon d'Ors, and finally win Portugal that World Cup Ronaldo always wanted. And of course, like Ronaldo, Speed will be starting at Sporting, where he only has 13 seasons to win the World Cup. If not, Ronaldo would be disappointed. But I can't lie, starting at the Sporting side would definitely help his development, as these other clubs Speed will be playing for in order. And to impress Juventus, he must win the league title with Sporting. But look at Speed, man, 57 overall, nothing but his pace is good. And there is no chance he gets any game time here at the club. How is he ever gonna win the World Cup if he can't even get on the pitch? So I think first order of business, he must go out on loan. And Speed has successfully found a loan move to Fleetwood Town. This is the club where Jamie Vardy played for before he became a Premier League winner. So hopefully Speed could become a great just like him. But of course, Speed must work hard if he wants to go ahead and move on to Juventus, to eventually go to United and Real Madrid to get ready to hopefully win the World Cup. And it looks like Speed will be starting for Fleetwood Town next to Evans. If he ever wants to win a league title with Sporting, he needs to first get on the bench. And in order to do that, if he can score 10 goals here at Fleetwood, I'm sure he'll at least become a substitute. But scoring 10 goals is impossible when you have 48 shooting, man. So we're gonna go ahead and go for the Porsche development plan. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if Speed can win the World Cup starting at a 57. Sounds impossible. And 10 goals, Speed has done it, completing his first objective. I'm sure the Sporting manager would give him some chances off the bench, helping his team to a 9th place finish. Is he on the right track to ever win the World Cup with Portugal? As I also want him to win 3 Champions Leagues and 1 Ballon d'Or. And Speed is now back at Sporting, still at a 62 overall. He is now a bench player, but he's still competing with the likes of Ionidis, Anjos, and Luis Suarez, their starting striker. And remember, he needs to be involved in the league title win if he ever wants to try and impress Juventus as next club. So I think he has to go out on loan again, continue to prove himself. I know he's 21, but sometimes you just start football late. And one of his first offers is another team in Portugal. It is Casapia AC. If they're coming in for him, they might be a lower end team. And it's another Portuguese team in Gil Vicente again. Does he want to play at the bottom of Portugal? But luckily, he got a third offer as he has now arrived in Denmark for Brøndby, one of the best teams in Denmark. And if he wants to become a starter at Sporting to win the league title, he needs to go ahead and win a golden boot here. I'm not sure if it'll happen this season, but he's definitely gonna try his best. And Speed is now here at Denmark. I'm pretty sure he doesn't even know where that is, but he is actually not the worst striker here. He's gonna be competing with Uchino and Ambaeg to play next to Gregoritsk in their 2-striker formation. But I don't know, is Speed really good enough to win the golden boot yet? Will we at least have to help him? His shooting is still absolutely horrendous. We're gonna go for the advanced forward roll. And Speed is now at a 67 overall, a +5 for him. Slowly improving as a footballer, but his best year yet, 12 goals and only 28 appearances. He must have gotten an injury. Is that enough for a golden boot? And no, Speed was not good enough, as he did finish in 4th place. Yusuf Mukaku outscores him by 4 goals. But a 2nd place finish is not too bad. But now Speed has a choice to make. Go back to Sporting, where he'd still be in the bench because he failed to win the golden boot. Or maybe stay here for 1 more year and see if he's good enough to win that golden boot. And Speed has actually decided to extend his loan for 1 more year at Brøndby. He did go up another +1 as his shooting is looking so much better. But we're gonna continue improving that with the Poacher development plan. But I'm not sure if Speed's good enough to take down Mukoku, who is a former wonderkid, man. And there he goes again, 16 goals. That is golden boot level, as it's another +4 to a 72, which means he gains his first playstyle, which is going to be the Rapid Silver playstyle. And as he continues to grow on overall, he'll get more of these, because if we get to the World Cup final, he needs as many as possible if he wants to bring it home for Portugal. And he also wins his first trophy of his career in 1st place. But turns out he's got enough 16 goals in 30 appearances. Surely Speed will be starting for Sporting now. And Speed is now back at Sporting, and he is in the starting 11. He's still not the best striker, as Anjos is still here, but I think his golden boot win has pitched him as the favorite. And who knows, maybe he does have what it takes to win the World Cup. Subscribe and let me know down below if you think he'll do it. But of course, he must now win the league title to try and impress Juventus. And in order to win the league title, he needs to score a bunch of goals. He's the main man. It's a bit boring, but we have to go for the Poacher development plan. But I'm not sure if Speed could be a better striker than Ivanovic or Samu from Porto. But surprisingly, Speed is an attacker de Portugal final. Before we find out if he won the league, can he go ahead and win this League Cup, his 2nd ever trophy? A bunch of injuries to this team. Can Speed keep his cool? And it's a 3-1 victory, as Speed scored a goal in the final. And with another trophy, he gets 21 goals, his best ever season. He might have won his second golden boot here. Another +4, 76 overall at 24 years old, which means he gains his next playstyle in quick step silver. Not a shooting one just yet. And sadly, no golden boot for actual Speed, but he did beat the other two strikers we mentioned earlier. There is a World Cup next season. If he can continue to improve, might win it as early as next year. But there we go. He has done it. 98 points, undefeated, wins the league title. Hopefully that is enough to impress Juventus. This doesn't guarantee a move to the club. And in season 5, Speed has gone up another +1 to 77. But like I said, he's done enough to impress Juventus. He is transfer listed, but are they interested in him just yet? And his first offer comes from La Liga in Villarreal. He needs to go to Juventus. But there's another interesting offer in the Premier League with Everton. Not a bad offer, but it isn't the old lady. And Speed has gotten an offer from the Serie A, but it's from Fiorentina, man. And that is his last offer, actually. Juventus are not interested in him. But don't you worry, we have a way to automatically send Speed to Juventus. And that is gonna be decided by this wheel, as he'll be given a random challenge. And he must speed run it and do it in one season. And we will be allowed to move him to Juventus. So the question is, what will the goal be for him this next season? And it's going to be a Player of the Year. Boys, that is one of the hardest challenges in his entire wheel. He must win the Player of the Year at one of the clubs that have come in for him. So Fiorentina, Everton, or Villarreal. I don't know if you can win the Player of the Year in any of these clubs. Maybe he can get one last offer. And luckily, Speed got one last offer from RB Salzburg, the club where Erling Haaland became a superstar. I definitely think he's capable of winning the Player of the Year and forcing a move to Juventus next season. But we're now in season number 5, and remember, he only has up to season 13, 3 UCLs, a Ballon d'Or, and of course, the World Cup. And Speed at Salzburg is actually the second best striker, tied with Vertessen. But luckily, it's another 2-striker formation. But he has a huge speedrun challenge to try and win the Player of the Year to force a transfer to Juventus. We, of course, need to continue working on his shooting with the Poacher development plan. With rapid and quick step playstyles already, he is slowly becoming the perfect Ronaldo regen. And Speed wins back-to-back league titles, this time in Austria, as he is now an 80 overall. A +3 is huge. He might be going to the World Cup this summer, but 22 goals and 1 assist, that might be enough for a golden boot. But more importantly, did he win the Player of the Season? And yes, he wins another golden boot. And yes, he's in the team of the season, but more importantly, he wins the Player of the Year, which means he can now go to Juventus and go and succeed there before going to Man United. So there we go. Speed is now joining Juventus, the next club on Ronaldo's CV, as in order to get to Man United, he needs to win a European trophy and every cup in Italy, which is a total of 3. But the good thing is, now at an 80 overall, he has gained the power shot playstyle. And unfortunately, Speed was not selected for Portugal, as they finished in first, but got knocked out in the round of 16 to Sweden. Maybe what they're missing is actual speed. And Speed has now arrived at Juventus. Well, unfortunately, he is the 4th best striker and will sit on the bench next to Roca, as Openda and Jonathan David will be starting. But unlike last time, I don't think I'm going to loan him out. I'm going to let him work his way to the starting 11. It will give us the opportunity to work on his passing and dribbling by giving him the false 9. And well, Juventus are in the Europa League, so surely Juventus and him will be winning that competition, which will get him much closer to one day playing for Real Madrid. But is staying here the right move? Is it going to lead him to eventually win the World Cup? And here we go. Speed and Juventus are in the Europa League final against Napoli. I'm pretty sure Speed is still a bench player. Well, Jonathan David is injured, so he might start this game. But the most important, can he win this final? And it's a 2-0 victory. As Speed started but didn't do much. But regardless, he wins 1 out of 4 trophies in order to hopefully impress United. But unfortunately, they do not win the Serie A title, as they finish in 2nd. No Italian Super Cup either, as well as no Coppa Italia. 3 trophies still left to go for Speed. But Speed did not have a good season. 2 goals in only 15 games. It must have been an injury, man. At least he still went up a +2 to an 82. I think he's gonna be fine. I think next year he'll get a lot more game time. And it's now season number 7. There's actually a Euros in the summer. If Speed doesn't get a lot of game time this year, I think we might have to loan him out for at least the season. But he's focused on winning the 3 trophies here in Italy. Let's just go back to shooting so his overall can skyrocket and he can start over the likes of David and Openda. And it's another Juventus-Napoli final, this time in the Italian Super Cup. This won't be easy because Napoli won the Serie A last year. As Speed is starting, I wonder where Jonathan David game it is. Let's see if we can go ahead and win another trophy. Yes, it's a 3-1 win. As he scores a goal. Coppa Italia and Serie A left to go. And yes, Speed is also in the Coppa Italia final against Roma. This should be another trophy here. If Speed can win this, all he's missing is a Serie A. As him and Openda are injured. This is not good. Can they go ahead and do it without them? And oh, it's a 1-0 loss. As Anthony the GOAT scores the goal. That's unfortunate, man. But the Serie A has the same story. This time by 3 points to Roma again. 2 trophies lost to Roma, man. But it seems like Speed was a starter with 51 apps. 19 goals, though, is not his best. But he is now in 85 overall. As he gets his next playstyle in low-driven silver. He's slowly becoming like prime Ronaldo. And what the hell? Ousmane Dembele wins the Golden Boot at Como of all teams. Man, this guy fell off like crazy. But Portugal are in Group B in the Euros. As Speed is now the starting striker. And look at this super team. Oh, there's no way they don't win the World Cup, or specifically the Euros. As Portugal finished second in the group stages. But sadly got knocked out in the quarterfinal. But not a bad tournament for Speed as he scored 3 goals in 4 games. However, if Speed can win the Euros with this super team, can they ever win the World Cup for Ronaldo? And in Season 8, Speed is approaching his prime, 27 years old, 85 overall. If he can win the Serie A and the Coppa Italia, there is no way United don't come in for him, right? So let's go ahead and continue to improve him. I go for the target forward role to improve his jumping. And yes, Juventus are in the Coppa Italia final again against Como, who's for some reason have Ousmane Dembele. He's missing 2 more trophies and this is one. He is fit for this final. This is injured though. Can they do it without him? And it's a 3-1 win as Speed scores another goal in the final. Big game player just like Ronaldo. And 23 goals is his best year here at Juventus, only getting better. Another +2 to an 87. He surely is now one of the world's best strikers. And sadly, he just misses out on the Golden Boot to Somerville. This guy's a championship level player. Speed cannot be losing to this guy. But yes, Juventus win the Serie A, the final trophy he needed. That is enough for United to be interested. But if they're not, Speed is gonna have to revisit the Speedrun Challenge Wheel. And surely now at an 87 overall, he is slowly close to winning his first Champions League out of 3. Challenging for the Ballon d'Or, and of course, there is a World Cup next season. Maybe he wins it. So now in season number 9, we have transfer listed Speed. But just remember, he only has 5 seasons left to win that World Cup. Please, United, please come in for him. And boys, the first offer has come in for Speed. And it's from Real Madrid. But we can't accept it. He has to go to United before going to Real. At least we know they're interested and will have no problem coming in for us in a couple seasons. And the only other offer he received is from Bayern Munich, which means Man United are not interested. We have to spin the Speedrun Challenge Wheel, and whatever it lands on, he has to do it at Bayern. So what does Speed have to do in order to force his move to Manchester United? And it's a Golden Boot win. He's won multiple before, but I have no idea who's in the Bundesliga. But we need to make sure he succeeds because failing his Speedrun challenges are not good. So here we go. Speed has now arrived in Germany. If he can't succeed here at Bayern, no chance he succeeds at United and Real Madrid. And this is the Bayern team Speed will be playing with. It's a very strong team. But with the likes of Musiala and Moledo, there is no chance he wins the Golden Boot. He cannot fail this challenge, because if he does, he's gonna be a complete bum, as we're gonna go ahead and just give him the advanced forward role. And what a season. 23 goals and 1 assist, now at an 88 overall. Worried that might not be Golden Boot numbers though, but he does win the Bundesliga, fails to win the Super Cup, and fails to win the Pokal. As in the UCL, they finished in 19th in the league and got smashed by City in the round of 16. Remember, he needs to win 3 UCL. No way, Speed is a bum. He did not win the Golden Boot, and that is not good because he can only fail 3 speedrun challenges, and if he fails a total of 3, he had to remove his final club, Real Madrid, and he could never join them. And if he never plays for Real, can he win the World Cup without playing for the best team of all time? However, it is another World Cup year with Speed starting up top again, and they absolutely dominated in the group stages. In the round of 16, they beat Argentina. In the quarters, they beat Croatia, but in the semis, they lost to Spain. Speed was so close to winning the World Cup, man. But in season 9, he has to spin the speedrun challenge wheel as he has 2 lives left. Whatever this lands on, it cannot be a Bayern. He must move again, and it's going to be win the treble. Oh, boys, I think he's failing this one depending on what club he joins. But luckily, he got the best offer possible, and it's PSG. He needs to complete this challenge, not only because he has 2 lives left, and we don't want him to never go to Madrid. 4 seasons left to win the World Cup, and he still needs to play for both United and Real. And come on, man, look at this absolute super team. If Speed cannot complete the treble. Serious conversations need to be had that he's a fraud. But hey, at 29 years old, 88 overall, he's one of the world's best. Maybe he can finally win a Ballon d'Or here. I was gonna give him the false nine role again. And boys, Speed is in the Champions League final against hopefully his future club, Real Madrid. This might mean they won the domestic double. But hopefully they can win this UCL final. He gets his first one, but Due is injured. Let's see how this goes, and it's a 2-1 victory. Speed scores in the final again. The question is, did they also win the Ligue 1 and the Coupe de France? But before that, he did score 26 goals and get 1 assist. Now at a 90 overall, gaining his last 3 playstyles in acrobatic silver and first touch because power shot has been upgraded to gold. He is ready for that World Cup final if he ever gets there. And yes, it's a Ligue 1 win with only 1 loss. They also won the Trophy of the Champions, which doesn't count to the treble, but they lost to Brest in the final of the Coupe de France. Speed must really hate Brest, man. So that means he loses yet again another life. 1 more and he could never go to Real Madrid. And sadly, his teammate Due wins the Ballon d'Or. He could have at least completed that, man. It's now season 11. 1 last chance at the speed run challenge, and it's to win the league title. That's a lot easier. But remember, if he fails this, he can never play for Real Madrid. And the club he has to win the league title at is at AC Milan. He's back in Italy, but he will have to compete with the superpower he helped build at Juventus. And boys, I'm not too excited. This team does not look like the best in Italy. And also remember, he has 3 seasons left before the World Cup final and still needs to succeed at United and Real Madrid. Speed needs a generational lock-in here. He needs to win the league title. We're just gonna max out his shooting for the rest of his career. But Speed shines no matter what. 29 goals and 1 assist. Now at a 91 overall. Please tell me he won the league, man. And as he adds another golden boot, yes, he's done it. He wins the league title. Not only can he now force a move to Man United, Real Madrid is now safe, as once again Desiree Doué wins the Ballon d'Or. But remember, Portugal were in the Euros as they finished in 2nd. But in the quarters, they beat Denmark. In the semis, they beat Spain. And yes, Speed has won the Euros. That is definitely going to help him win the World Cup, hopefully in 2 seasons' time, as he was the top goal scorer of the entire competition. It is finally happening. IShowSpeed is now joining Man United. Oh, he's come a long way, but in order for him to go to Real Madrid, he needs to win the Champions League. And he needs to do it this season because next year is the World Cup and we need him to play for Real Madrid for at least 1 year, man. And I can't lie, boys, this team is not looking great. It's gonna have to be a nasty carry job from him, Sesko, and even Amar Diallo. But I wonder, at a 91 overall with all of these stats, is he good enough to put a team on his back and take them to a Champions League? And in the group stages, Man United finished in an impressive 7th. And in the round of 16, they beat Liverpool. In the quarters, they beat Chelsea. And in the semis, they beat PSG. They're in the final against AC Milan, the team he built in Italy. And what a season. 33 goals, 3 assists, still at a 91. But here we go, Man United versus AC Milan. Can they go ahead and do it? It's a 4-2 victory. And I think for the first time, Speed doesn't score in a final. That means he has unlocked his move to Real Madrid. They were already interested. I'm sure they still want him. 1 last season before he goes to his final World Cup. Is he ready to win it all? And again, Desiree Doué wins the Ballon d'Or. He's keeping that trophy hostage. So finally, after 13 seasons, Speed has joined Real Madrid. And just remember, he has 2 Champions League wins. He needs 1 more. So I would love for him to win it now. It's his last chance. But mainly stay fit and get ready for the World Cup. And this is the team Speed is joining. It's not looking bad at all, man. Would love his last Champions League win, but it's okay if it doesn't happen. He's already gone down. His last season of his career. Come on, Speed. And in the league phases, Speed finished in 4th. Round of 16, they beat Strasbourg. Quarterfinals, they beat Los Leo. And in the semis, they beat AC Milan. So now they face PSG to try and win his final UCL trophy. And it's Speed's best ever season. 35 goals and 3 assists. However, another -1 for him. Is he ready to win the World Cup at 33 years old? Last Champions League, can he win it all? Camavinga is out injured, and it's going to be a 1-0 victory. Pinau scores in the final. 1 thing left for Speed, and that is to win the World Cup with Portugal. And this will be the final Portugal side, Speed's last chance of winning the World Cup. He's got his playstyles ready. Are we gonna get to use them? And in the group stages, they finished in 1st place. Round of 16, they beat Mexico. Quarterfinals, they beat Poland. And in the semis, they beat the Netherlands. And oh my days, Portugal versus Argentina. The team that stands in Speed's way is Lionel Messi's Argentina. And Speed has has been on a mission. 6 goals in 6 appearances. Can he win the World Cup for Ronaldo? And now it's Dominguez and the ball gives it to ISO Speed. The chance to go 1-0 power shot plus it goes in. 16 minutes in. Portugal have a 1-0 lead. Rodrigo Mora on the ball gives it to Dominguez, who finds ISO Speed again in the second half. Looking for the power shot again, and it goes in. 48th minute. This game has to be over. Why isn't he suing, bro? Come on. And the game's all over. Speed lifts the World Cup with Portugal, and he finally wins his Ballon d'Or. If you guys have enjoyed this video, click on the screen because I'm sure you'll enjoy this one.